Spooky season's among us. It is the witching hour. It is the most wonderful time of the year, and I'm not talking about Christmas. I love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday of the year, and I'm always looking for a good spooky read. I absolutely love horror, I love mystery, I love suspense, I love thrillers, and there are a lot that I have not read or I want to reread because I just loved it so much and I want to be able to have that experience again. So, these books I all have. There are a lot more that I have, but I've got these for now just to kind of get through. Or I want to be able to get through for Halloween this year, and these are the ones I have physically, and then I'll go over the ones that I don't have that I want to be able to get into, whether it's an audiobook or an ebook. But I'll go ahead and get started with these. The first one that I hopefully want to get into for Halloween this year, or at least the first one that's up top here, this is a short fiction collection by Virginia Woolf called The Haunted House. I'm not really sure what this book is about, honestly. It had a spooky title, and I'm getting spooky vibes from this. So I read her story. I read Mrs. Dalloway by her. I wasn't really as impressed by it, but I'm hoping that her short fiction will win me over. And if it's got something like a haunted house in it, hopefully, if this vibe is spooky, then yes, I will officially be a Wolf stan. I'm sorry, I will do it. So there's hope for expectations right there. If I'm walking into a really bad path, please just somebody let me know. But I'm excited to read this. But the next one I have is the OG vampire girl herself, and the web series called Classic, Carmilla. So I love Dracula. I haven't actually read Dracula, but I watched the web series for Carmilla, and I fell in love with that. It's very sapphic, and it's just wholesome and great. I've never actually read the book, but this version is edited by Carmen Maria Machado, who also wrote Her Body and Other Parties and Into the Dream House. And when I was going to check this out at Barnes & Noble, the cashier who was checking me out was raving about this because apparently the way that Machado really edits this is phenomenal and well done. And the cashier was just wanting to have this version everywhere because of how good it is. So I'm excited for it, and I know it's going to be very different because I know the web series is very much more comedic and lighthearted, and this obviously will probably not be. But I'm still excited to read it because we love some sapphic romance, we love spooky vampires, we love horror, and I'm actually very excited to see how this influenced Dracula and why we need to be talking about this girl more. So we're gonna get to that. I realized that most of these books that I have for Halloween TBR, most of them start with C and they're girl names. Like Carmilla, a girl name starts with C, and the next two I have, girl names that start with C. So I think I have a pattern here that's bad. So the next one I have is Coraline by Neil Gaiman, and I actually watched this movie growing up. I think it is a Tim Burton movie, and it's just phenomenal, and I love the movie. I read a graphic novel version of this for middle school, actually, to talk about a comparison between the book and the movie. So I've never actually read the physical book, so that's why I have this little number right here. And also, can we just talk about the cover of this? I feel like I'm getting the plank from Ed, and Eddie in here. I don't know if that's a bad thing. I know it's supposed to be buttons, but I'm getting Cartoon Network vibes with it. I love it though. I love Neil Gaiman. I love spooky, and this is literally if Alice in Wonderland was put into a dollhouse. That's the best way I can describe this. And if you've seen a movie, you know you know. So I'm really excited to read this. And then my last C that I have, we have the OG Stephen King novel here. The queen of unhinged high school prom queen horror. My Girl Carrie. I love this so much. This is the book that actually got me super into reading, and this is also got me into Stephen King in general. So this is a very attractive cautionary tale about a young girl who's getting bullied in school for being an outcast and for having a very serious relationship with her religion and having to deal with the abuse by her overly religious mother. And when she starts to transition from girlhood into womanhood and gets her period, she starts to develop telekinetic powers, and she's sort of figuring out her life and where her religion would fit into this new power she's developed. And when she's invited to go to prom, which in her eyes is the opportunity of a lifetime, it's either going to be the best night of her life or it's going to be her nightmare. And you can tell where this is going, right? If you've seen the movie with Sissy Spacek or Chloe Grace Moretz or any other versions of this, you know it's going to turn sideways. It's a Stephen King novel. Nothing's going to be happy here. I don't want to spoil it, but it's not going to end well. And I know I've read this already, but I want to read it again because I love this book so much. I actually did a film analysis for Unhinged Women in Horror where I talked about the 1976 version with Sissy Spacek, just because I've always wanted to do something with Carrie and I love that story so much. So it was just a very neat way to bring my passion for horror movies and especially unhinged female characters. And if you're looking to study more of the unhinged female archetype in horror, then this is probably a good example of that. So those are the three. The four, I can't count. So those four I have right now, and then I just went and grabbed 2 more physical books that I want to add on to the Halloween if I can. So this one is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I've always heard about this book and how very unsettling it is. It's a gothic romance. I'm not normally a romance kind of gal, but it's Jane Eyre, and I kind of have a vague idea of what happens just because I've seen parts of one of the movies, adaptations of this, and I don't know, I'm getting spooky vibes with this. I know generally what it's about, and I know it's about an abused girl who gets brought into being this relationship with a guy with his own issues of his own. I want this girl to be happy, but it's not going to end well. I know it's not. And it's just toxic relationships. But I am going to read this because I want to read more classic literature, and even though I did not like Wuthering Heights, I'm willing to give the Bronte sisters another chance. Like, I want to see what Charlotte brings to the table. So, Charlotte, we're counting on you, babe. And then the next one I have is The Night Circus by Emily Morgenstern. So, this is one of the primary young adult fiction books that I've heard about growing up. It's basically these 2 magicians that grow up competing against each other. I'm not really sure there is a plot to this. I tried reading it when I was younger, and I think I had the DNF it about a couple pages in, but I want to give it another chance because it is so highly acclaimed, and I do get spooky vibes from it, so I do want to try to get into this again and hopefully see what's so magical about it. Okay, so those are the physical books that I have that are on my Halloween TBR, and then I don't have this one on me, but I do hopefully want to either get it as an audiobook or just probably order it from somewhere, and that is A Certain Hunger by Chelsea G. Summers. It's a book that is very highly recommended by another booktuber, the Book Leo, aka Leonie. She raves about it, and I want to add it to my TBR so bad. Whether, I don't know how I will get it, but I want to read it. And it's about this woman who's basically a food critic and also a cannibal. Like, if you literally take Hannibal Lecter and make him a 30-something woman who's not a therapist but just is a food critic and just goes completely unhinged, I think that's the general vibe. But it sounds fascinating just because, again, we are giving unhinged females a chance here. We don't support their actions, but we support women in general. But not the bad stuff. No. Because murder and cannibalism are bad, and I'm not going to promote that on this channel, but I will read it for the sake of horror and for crazy women. Okay, so those are kind of the books that I want to read for Halloween and get the general spookiness vibes going, because we love spooky time. We love Halloween. So I'm very excited to be reading these. If there are any books that you want to read for your Halloween or autumn TBRs, and if you have any good recommendations, go ahead and leave them down in the comments. I'm very curious to see what you're going to be reading for the spookiest time of the year and what you're going to be dabbling into. So thank you all for watching this, and I hope you have a fantastic day and enjoy your autumn and or fall, and have a great Halloween.